Halløj til alle jer derude, og velkommen tilbage til Kjær Sommerfeldt. Vi skal i gang med en lille snak med Chief Winemaker Romain Ott fra Château Léoube. Det er altså en af de helt store spillere i roséens verden, vi er fat i her. So, first of all, Romain, thank you so much for coming north and taking the time here to meet with us. Well, thank you. There is no doubt that Château Léoube is very, very high on the list of the best rosé makers in the world at the moment because of your exceptional wines. Could you describe to us in a few words the style and the vision of Château Léoube?
Just before a few words on Château Léoube, maybe where it's located.
Mm-hmm.
It's located in the south of France, on the coastline, on a protected area, and we run the estate organically with a very high respect of nature and all the environment. And we produce organic wines. Many rosés on, I would say, maybe a different style to other Provence or wines from my colleagues, because we want some bodied wines, very balanced first. Even if we have 3 or 4 different rosés, the aim is to get the most balanced product. That's mean a light expression of the aromas, a light balance with the acidity. We are more on the delicate style, I would say, instead of very demonstrative wines, because the aim again is to enjoy the product, and if it's well balanced, you can feel many different things on the tasting. The aim again is to enjoy and to match with the atmosphere or the moment, the food or the aperitif or the dinner, or just a moment with friends. So that's maybe the most important for us. Yes, the environment, the balance, and the consistency on the products and on between the different products in the range. So they have the same base identity of Léoube wines, balanced with a light minerality due to the location, due to the terroir and the soil, which is a schistous soil, a schist and clay, really close to the sea. But in this range, each one has its own identity too. So that's probably the most important for us, is to be very consistent.
Well, that's fantastic, and of course your expression of that through the wines is very, very clear to see. And I think for us here at Kjær Sommerfeldt, for many of our customers as well, this is the taste of the south of France, I think, on a summer's day. Of course. So I will have to ask you, what do you think has made rosé as big and as popular as it is today?
Probably because Provence globally made big efforts on the technical points and the technique and the winemaking. I talk about 20 years ago now, and maybe people realize that rosé is like a white wine made with red grapes. So it's not a second product. It's for us and for Provence area, and especially for Léoube estate, our main production, and it maybe asks them a little higher attention because it's very delicate and must be very balanced. First, that's the technical point, and I think the market now is ready to know new products. I think there's a mix between the production, the sales, of course, the exportation with big brands who did a great job for many, many years. And in the same time, the customer who is maybe now ready to drink some rosé, and rosé as a wine, not only a drink on a terrace, but a wine for dinner maybe, for on a big table or a nice table. And I think that's the customer taste evolution is always more or less the same. When you are young, you start with sweet wines, then 100% variety wines, whites, then reds, then blended reds, then rosé.
I think we're talking about natural progression here. Absolutely.
Yeah,
So, well, Romain, you are fourth generation winemaker now.
yeah.
You've been working for Léoube for 25 years?
22, yeah.
22 years exactly on the dot. What is the best piece of advice that your father gave you when it came to winemaking?
I don't know. It's just a history, because when you live on an estate, on a wine estate, and when your father is the one of the chairman and and the CEO, it's not only winemaking; it's the whole process of the company, estate, and wine company running. Probably to stay humble. That's very important, because we work with nature, so we never know what can happen, and we have to adapt each year to keep this consistency and this regularity on the product. That's really important, and never forget that the aim is to produce wine for the customers, not only for you. So that's really important. Of course, it's a part of your taste. But when, for example, when I blend, I just set in the situation of a customer, and after all the technical points and the style and everything, the last question is, do I want to drink some more or not? Or would I enjoy it on a lunch or with friends? So the wine is made for that. It's not made for a few I don't know, amateur. It's made for anyone, and again, they must be in the same time serious wines, bodied but serious and balanced, and very enjoyable. So if this has a good balance, I would say, I think the most part of the job is done. But first, humility is very important.
I think that's a very, very strong answer. Very, very good. Now, rosé wines. We know them as being young and fresh and vibrant wines. What is the actual aging potential for rosés, and do you see aged rosé as becoming a thing on the international market?
Aged rosé is probably becoming on my thought, a niche market. Mm-hmm. We produce, of course, the rosé needs to be fresh, because you expect the aromatic into, you expect the freshness. It's again or still associated with summertime and spring season, with holidays. But at Château Léoube, we produce wines you can age. Yesterday I talked with a journalist about this exactly, on the phone, and she was wondering and asked me, how can I explain to customers which one or which rosé, according to the terroir or the location, can age? I said, no, you can't. As any wine production area, you have some winemakers who just work on the terroir to produce not wine to be aged, but wine can age, which is a little different. So I told her, I produce some wines. We recommend to drink them on the 2 or 3 years after release. So I produce wine which can age, but not for aging especially. But at the moment, a few wine producers wants to produce rosé for aging. Okay, why not? I can understand. So some of the rosé can age, so that's the aim. But for me, it's not I'm not sure it's the right product to age. Even if you can drink a rosé de Léoube 2 or 3 years after the release, and it's still perfect, but it's not made for that. they are made on the specific way to have a very stable product in the time, very regular. That means they are a little less aromatic or demonstrative on the aromas compared to others, because I want them to be very stable in the time. That means you drink it now or next summer, it will be more or less the same. Of course, you will have a light difference on the freshness, but it's still the same style, and that's very important.
All right. So Château Léoube is right there on the coast of the Mediterranean. It's hot sun, it's beautiful summer days, it's perfect vistas over the sea, it's huge amount of slate and minerals in the soil, facing off the three winds of the Mediterranean. Is this perfect placement something you really can feel in your wines?
Yes, yes, that's a part of the identity of Château Léoube wines, because really close to the sea, because we work organically on a very traditional way, with a lot of handwork, with of course a light adaptation to the climate, and the mix with the climate and the soil and the grapes we blend, the grapes we cultivate, the way we cultivate, the hand harvest, and all those things make what we call the terroir, because the terroir is of course the soil, of course the weather, but it's also the action of the grower, and what he just catch from this terroir. So it's a higher density vineyard with a low yield, hand picked, gently pressed. Again, the balance is very important. And on the testing, you can feel all of those, all this style, and you have this sort of what we call salinity or minerality, which can remind the sea. It's not salty. It looks like, but it's not. And also maybe because we produce dry wines without any residual sugar in, so that's really important in the balance. And even if we have a low acidity level in the wines, you can feel a good acidity on the tasting. So it's a sort of contradiction, but it's a part of the style we want to produce. Yes.
Fantastic. Now, as you mentioned, you are an organic producer, of course, but I also happen to know that you go a little further than just the organic rules of France, of course. I know you have a little bit more of a holistic manner of winemaking, so to speak, regarding biodiversity and moon cycles.
Sure.
Could you tell us a little bit more about that, perhaps, and how that affects the wines in your vineyard?
Yeah, so today we put some names on that, like biodynamic, like many things. For us, it's, I would say, more, sorry, I will speak French, but it's more the bon sens paysan. That means you just work like, it's not the old fashioned, but it's probably the right way to work with nature. You know that if you prune at a specific moon, it will be better for a specific variety. You know that if you plow on a specific moon, it will be more efficient. It's just for me a normal way. So sorry, now we put some words and some names on that and some certifications. Right, I can understand. I'm not spraying under the full moon. It's just by hand. But the aim is to probably take best part of each method to have his own method, the own method of Château Léoube. I'm not a big fan of extreme. So yes, we are organic, because it was just logical for us. We asked for the certification a long time ago, but it was just a way to attest what we said or what we were saying on the winemaking and on the viticulture. But it didn't change anything on the process. So yes, we are organic, certified. We use a part of what we call now biodynamic, but just the basis of the biodynamic, not the very specific things. I'm not completely precise on that, and on a big vineyard, on a big surface, it's a little more difficult. If we want to do it really completely, I would say. So yes, we use a part of the normal traditional way to grow, and because we also know that the climate where we are is very helpful, because it's a little dry, it's always windy, the sea temperates a lot. We have hot days, of course, but always with light breeze and fresh nights. So it's very helpful for maturity, for fungus regulation, and yeah.
Well, perfect location gives you a lot of tools to work with, I'm sure.
Sure.
Well, which is also why you make such fantastic wines. I also understand that you make your own corks. Is that correct?
No, we had some some cork trees on the estate, but the location is not the best place to have the proper size of the cork. So we use a part, but for sorry, not a full cork, but for I don't know, these
Short corks.
no, not short, but techniques. That's mean it's a part of parts of corks. So we yes, for a very small part, a very small part, but it's not produced for our own wine production. No. But we only use cork. Yeah, sure. That's very important.
Well, best of the best, right? Could we talk a little bit about the differences between organic winemaking, as you do, or should we say natural winemaking, should we call it, and the conventional winemaking in Provence? What are the major differences that the average person buying rosé should look for?
Organic wines are, of course, made from organic grapes. That's mean no chemicals on the vineyards. That's mean more traditional vine growing and winemaking. On those products, for example, we only press the grapes to extract the color and extract the juice, of course. But it's less easy to manage, or to manage I would say the color. So you have to be very careful on the pressing. That means you can't use any fining agents to clarify, or very low. That's probably the main difference. There's a lot of restriction on the product you can use on the wine, which is better, because the best is in the fruits, not on what you add. And yes, and of course a low sulfite content, which is probably the most known thing.
Keep it natural, right?